The battlefield was quiet, too quiet. Far beyond the edge of a dying star, the alien armada floated in perfect formation. Hundreds of warships, their metallic hulls glowing under the red light of the star, waited for the final signal to attack. Their commanders were calm, confident, and almost bored. For weeks, they had hunted every resistance force in this sector. For weeks, they had believed they were untouchable. Now they waited for humanity. The aliens expected something small, maybe a few desperate ships that slipped past their defenses. They laughed at the thought. To them, humans were latecomers to the war, a species without true power. They are weak, the alien admirals told themselves. They are reckless. They will break just like all the others. But then the silence changed. At first, it was nothing more than a faint ripple in space. The alien sensors twitched, then screamed with alerts. Lights blinked red across their command decks. At first, they thought it was an error, maybe a phantom reading caused by the unstable star. But as seconds passed, the signal grew louder, clearer, undeniable. Something was coming. Every alien officer froze. The commanders leaned forward in their thrones, their eyes narrowing as new shapes appeared on the tactical display. One after another, huge signatures filled the screen. Not one ship, not 10 ships, dozens, hundreds. It was the human fleet. They did not arrive with speeches. They did not arrive with a warning. They appeared as if the darkness of space had split open and poured out steel monsters. The first human battleship emerged, its massive frame glowing with blue engines that lit up the void. Then came another, and another, until the entire region shook with their presence. The humans did not hide their power. Their warships carried weapons so large they looked like towers of death, bristling with cannons and missile bays. Their armor was black, lined with markings that looked almost ancient, almost holy. The aliens who had laughed before were silent now, for the first time in years of war. They felt something they did not understand: fear. The alien commanders tried to regain control. "It is only numbers," one said. "We outgun them. We outnumber them." But even as they spoke, their voices trembled, because the humans were not moving like an unprepared enemy. They were moving like predators. The alien fleet waited for the usual broadcast, some warning or demand. Every empire gave one before the first strike. It was a tradition of war, a ritual. But the humans said nothing. Their ships moved in silence, shifting into deadly formation. It was this silence that unsettled the aliens most of all. On board the largest alien dreadnought, the admiral gripped the arms of his throne. His heart pounded against his chest. He had fought dozens of wars, crushed hundreds of fleets, but something about this human fleet felt different. He could not explain it, but he could feel it. The humans were not here to negotiate, and they were not here to warn. They were here to end everything. From the viewports of their warships, alien soldiers watched in dread. Human battleships glided forward like giants of steel, their hulls gleaming with cold light. Carriers released squadrons of fighters that streaked into the void like swarms of angry hornets. Cruisers aligned their massive cannons, the barrels glowing faintly as they charged. The humans were not loud. They did not taunt. They did not waste a single second. They only prepared. Alien crews rushed to battle stations. Officers screamed orders. The entire armada adjusted its weapons toward the human fleet, trying to hide their growing panic. Thousands of cannons hummed to life, missiles locked onto targets. Energy shields rose in shimmering layers of light. But still, the humans said nothing. The silence was unbearable. It felt as if the universe itself held its breath, waiting for the first shot. Inside the alien flagship, the admiral whispered a thought he should not have spoken aloud. "Why are they so quiet?" His voice echoed through the command chamber, and not one officer answered. The humans continued their advance. Their formation tightened, their weapons glowed brighter. The massive fleet now filled the starfield, a wall of power stretching from horizon to horizon. For the aliens, it was like staring at a storm they could not stop. The dread in their hearts grew heavier with every passing second. And then, just before the first human cannon lit up the battlefield, every alien soldier understood the truth. The humans were not weak. They were not late to the war. They were not desperate. They had waited, watched, and studied. And now they had come with everything they had died. The sudden arrival of the human fleet was not just the beginning of a battle. It was the beginning of a nightmare, and the aliens were about to face it. The alien fleet trembled in silence as the humans kept advancing. Every second felt like an eternity. The aliens waited for words, a demand, a signal, anything. But the humans gave none. They only moved, slow and steady, like predators who had already chosen their prey. Then it began. The first shot came without warning. A single human battleship lit up the void with a blinding flash. Its main cannon, larger than any the aliens had ever seen, fired with thunderous force. A beam of white-hot energy tore across space and ripped through an alien cruiser in a single strike. The ship exploded instantly, breaking apart into fire and metal shards. The shockwave rolled across the enemy line, scattering smaller vessels into chaos. The aliens froze. For a moment no one moved. No one breathed. Then, like a storm breaking loose, the rest of the human fleet fired. One by one, human warships unleashed their weapons. Bright lances of energy cut across the battlefield. Missile swarms filled the void, each one guided with terrifying accuracy. Fighters poured out of carriers and streaked between explosions, hunting enemy ships like wolves circling wounded prey. The aliens had expected a fight. They had expected a clash of equals. What they faced instead was slaughter. Entire wings of their ships were destroyed in seconds. Human firepower was too precise, too coordinated. Every shot seemed to know exactly where to hit, breaking shields, cutting through armor, and splitting ships in half. Alien commanders shouted orders. Cannons fired back in a desperate attempt to push the humans away. Thousands of plasma bolts lit up the darkness, missiles screamed toward human ships, and beams of raw energy slashed through space. But the humans were ready. Their shields glowed bright, absorbing or deflecting most of the enemy fire. Their ships moved in perfect unity, shifting formation as if guided by one mind. When alien fire grew heavy in one sector, human ships rotated smoothly, spreading the damage and protecting each other. It was not chaos for them. It was control. Cold, calculated control. The aliens watched in horror as their weapons failed to make a difference. Where one human ship was hit, two more returned fire with devastating accuracy. Where one shield faltered, another ship moved in to block the next attack. Every move the humans made showed discipline, experience, and a will to destroy. Inside the alien flagship, the admiral's voice cracked as he barked orders. "Hold the line! Fire everything!" But his words meant little now. He could see the truth on the tactical display. His fleet was breaking. To the aliens, it looked as if the humans had rehearsed this battle 1,000 times. Their strategy was perfect, their unity unshakable. For every alien ship that fired, 3 of theirs were destroyed in return. The battlefield turned into a storm of fire. Explosions lit up the starfield like dying suns. Broken ships drifted, spilling debris and lifeless bodies into the void. Screams filled alien comms, cut short by static as ships were torn apart. And still, the humans said nothing. They did not boast. They did not demand surrender. They simply killed. An alien destroyer tried to ram a human cruiser, desperate to take one enemy down with it. The humans did not even flinch. Their cannons tracked it, fired, and the destroyer disintegrated before it could get close. Another group of alien ships tried to retreat, hoping to regroup at a safer distance. But human fighters swarmed them, tearing engines apart and leaving the wrecks floating helplessly. Every attempt to fight back, every desperate move, ended the same way: failure. The aliens could not understand it. How could humans, a younger race, fight with such precision? How could they destroy fleets that had ruled the stars for centuries? The answer was simple. The humans had learned from every war, every loss, every mistake. They had studied their enemies. And now, when they finally revealed their fleet, it was no experiment. It was perfection. The admiral of the alien fleet gripped his throne so tightly his claws cracked the metal. His voice shook as he whispered, This is not a battle. It is execution." His officers stared at the screens, their faces pale with disbelief. They wanted to argue, to deny his words, but they could not. The truth was burning all around them. The humans pressed forward. Their massive battleships moved like shadows of doom, cutting through the armada as if it were made of paper. Their fighters screamed past wreckage, leaving trails of fire. Every explosion echoed like a drumbeat of death, marking the fall of another alien ship. Within minutes, the once proud alien fleet was reduced to chaos. Formations shattered, commanders silenced, entire squadrons gone. The first strike was not just powerful, it was absolute, and the humans were only beginning. As the flames of broken ships lit up the battlefield, a deep silence fell once more. The alien fleet, once so confident, was now broken and scattered. The human fleet loomed over them like a storm that had no end. The message was clear even without words. Humanity had come not to fight. Humanity had come to destroy. The alien fleet was in chaos. Smoke and fire filled the starfield, wreckage drifting where proud warships once stood. For a moment, it seemed as if the humans had already won. But then something changed. Deep within the alien flagship, alarms blared as the admiral roared across the comms. His voice was sharp, angry, desperate. "Enough, they are only flesh and blood. They bleed like we do. They can be broken. All ships, form the wall." Across the battlefield, surviving alien vessels began to regroup. Broken squadrons pulled themselves back into lines. Engines burned bright as cruisers, and destroyers reformed their formation. The fleet that had been scattered like prey now tried to gather once more, to fight like predators again. Massive energy shields rose around their strongest ships. Dozens of carriers opened their bays, releasing waves of fresh fighters. New commands flew across their networks. Attacked together, overwhelmed them, drowned them in fire. The humans had struck hard. But now the aliens were ready to strike back. The first counterattack came fast. Hundreds of alien fighters screamed through the debris fields, weaving between explosions, firing plasma bolts and missiles at human ships. Swarms of energy blasts lit the darkness, a storm of fire aimed directly at the human fleet. Behind them, alien cruisers and destroyers poured their fire into the void. Giant cannons glowed red as they unleashed beams strong enough to cut a moon in half. Missiles streaked out like endless rivers of fire. The space between the two fleets became a furnace. For the first time since their arrival, human ships were struck hard. A cruiser's shield flared bright and shattered under the combined barrage. Explosions ripped across its hull, tearing away armor plates, venting air and bodies into the void. The aliens cheered across their comms. "They bleed. They bleed!" Encouraged, they pressed harder. Another wave of plasma smashed into a human destroyer. Flames consumed its rear, engines bursting apart. It drifted helplessly, fires spilling from its wounds. For a moment, the humans seemed mortal, but then the counterattack truly began. Human fighters met the alien swarms head-on. They did not scatter. They did not run. They dove straight into the storm. Sleek and fast, human fighters weaved between enemy bolts, answering every strike with one of their own. Alien fighters exploded like firecrackers as precision shots tore through their engines. In the middle of the chaos, human warships held their ground. Where shields broke, they reformed. Where one ship staggered, another shifted to cover it. Even under the heaviest fire, their formation did not collapse. Instead, it hardened. The aliens realized too late that the humans had allowed them this small victory. They had drawn the enemy in, let them believe they could fight back. And now, when the aliens were fully committed, the trap closed. "Target their lines," a human commander ordered. His voice was cold, calm, almost mechanical. "Break their will." The humans fired in unison. A wall of energy lances tore through the center of the alien formation. Shields flared, failed, and shattered. A massive alien battleship split open, its insides burning as fire spread across its decks. The sound of its destruction echoed across alien comms, crushing the brief hope that had risen only moments ago, but the humans did not stop. They pushed harder. Missile swarms rained down like falling stars, smashing through enemy cruisers. Entire fighter squadrons vanished in a single flash of light as human cannons tracked them with merciless precision. The alien admiral screamed for his ships to hold, to push, but his voice was lost in the chaos. The aliens had believed their numbers would save them. They had believed their combined firepower could overwhelm the humans. But now they saw the truth. The humans fought as if they had one mind, one purpose. Every move was part of a larger design, every strike perfectly timed. It was not just strength, it was strategy. One alien officer trembled as he watched the display. His voice cracked as he whispered, They knew exactly how we would attack." His hands shook as explosions filled the screen. "It's as if they studied us, as if they prepared for this moment all along." The Admiral glared at him, but did not speak. Because in his heart, he knew it was true. The humans had waited for them to gather. They had baited them into forming their wall. And then they had shattered it piece by piece. The counterattack, which began with fire and hope, ended in screams and silence. Alien ships drifted, burning, their wreckage painting the void in red and orange. The once proud formations were broken again, scattered like leaves in a storm. The human fleet advanced slowly, pushing the enemy back step by step. The aliens had tried to fight back, and they had failed. The battlefield fell quiet again, filled only with static and the cold hum of burning wrecks. Among the survivors, fear spread like poison. For the first time, they began to whisper a new thought, a thought darker than any defeat. Maybe the humans could not be stopped. Maybe this war was already lost. And the worst part of all, the humans had still not spoken a single word. The battlefield burned with chaos. Wreckage floated through space, glowing like drifting embers from a dying fire. The alien counterattack had failed. Their ships were scattered again, their voices filled with fear. But the battle was not over. In the command deck of the alien flagship, the Admiral's face was pale but determined. His claws dug into the armrests of his throne. "We cannot break," he growled. "We cannot surrender. If we fall here, our empire falls with us." He ordered every ship to throw their heaviest weapons at the human fleet. Massive warheads were armed, plasma cannons overloaded until their cores burned bright. Even ships that were half crippled turned their remaining guns toward the advancing wall of human steel. This was not strategy anymore. It was desperation, and for a moment it seemed to work. Dozens of warheads screamed through space, exploding against human shields. The impact shook entire ships, fire and debris spilling into the void. One human cruiser broke apart, its hull collapsing into two burning halves. A dreadnought groaned under the pressure as fire tore across its armor. The aliens roared in triumph, their comms filled with renewed hope. "They fall! They bleed! Strike harder!" Yet even as they shouted, their cheers began to die. Because the humans did not retreat. They did not scatter. Their formation tightened, their weapons growing brighter, deadlier. It was then the aliens realized something chilling. The humans had not yet revealed their full strength, and now they were about to. From the center of the human fleet, a new command went out. The massive warships shifted, their weapons glowing with deep energy. Strange towers unfolded from their hulls, like great spears pointing at the void. A silence fell over the battlefield. Even the alien admiral leaned forward, his heart pounding. What are they doing?" he whispered. Then the void itself lit up. The humans unleashed their heaviest weapons, blinding beams of energy, thick as rivers of fire, cut across space. They did not just strike, they erased. Entire alien battleships vanished in a single flash, reduced to glowing fragments. Shields meant to withstand planets cracked like glass. Flagships that had stood for centuries split apart in silence, their crews lost to the void before they could even scream. Missile storms followed, pouring from human carriers like endless rain. Each one split into dozens of smaller warheads, weaving through defenses and detonating deep inside alien formations. Cruisers burst into fireballs, their engines collapsing, their bodies breaking apart like toys. It was no longer a battle. It was a massacre. The alien admiral watched in horror as his fleet crumbled. Every attempt to rally, every desperate move, ended in destruction. His strongest ships, his proudest weapons, were nothing against this storm. "Impossible," he whispered, his voice trembling. "No force can do this. No fleet can fight like this." But the evidence was all around him. Human boarding craft launched from carriers, small but terrifying. They pierced weakened ships and spilled soldiers into enemy halls. The aliens who survived spoke of shadows moving through the smoke, of humans who fought without fear, without hesitation. Entire crews surrendered just to escape the horror of facing them. On open channels, rumors spread like wildfire. The humans fight like demons. They do not stop. They do not fear death. Every alien soldier heard it. Every commander felt it. And the truth sank in like poison. The turning point had come. The aliens had not just lost their strength. They had lost their will. Their lines collapsed faster now. Where once they fought with order, they now scattered, fleeing into the darkness. Ships warped out in panic, abandoning the battlefield, abandoning their comrades. But even those who fled could not escape. Human interceptors hunted them down, dragging them back into the fire. There was no mercy. The alien admiral stood from his throne, his body shaking. His empire's strongest fleet was dying before his eyes. He had spent his life believing his people were unchallenged rulers of the stars. But here, in this single battle, humanity had shattered that illusion. It was not just defeat. It was humiliation. The humans advanced slowly, their ships glowing like burning towers of judgment. The admiral realized the truth. Humanity was no longer a young race, no longer a new power. They were the storm that would sweep everything away. He sank back into his throne, his voice breaking into a whisper. "We are not fighting soldiers. We are fighting extinction." Across the galaxy, observers who had been watching from a distance fell silent. Other empires, once certain of their power, now trembled. The sight of the alien armada collapsing under human fire was burned into their memories. The universe was changing, and everyone knew it. The turning point was not only for the battle, it was for the galaxy itself. Humanity had shown its hand. They were not the hunted anymore. They were the hunters. The battlefield was silent at last. The fire of broken ships drifted like dying stars, their wreckage turning slowly in the black void. Pieces of alien hulls floated aimlessly, glowing red with heat, scattering sparks into the emptiness. The screams of battle had ended. Only static remained on the alien comms, and through the silence the human fleet moved. They did not rush. They did not celebrate. Their ships glided forward slowly, like shadows across the stars. Engines glowed blue, reflecting against the burning debris. Each vessel looked untouched by the chaos, calm and unshaken, as if what had just happened was not a war, but a routine duty. Among the ruins, only a few alien ships remained. Crippled, their engines broken, their shields long gone. Fires raged inside their hulls, leaking smoke into space. Some crews had already surrendered, drifting helplessly, their signals weak and desperate. Others simply floated in silence, waiting for the inevitable end. The human fleet gave no reply. They did not answer surrender signals. They did not demand terms. They only advanced. And the survivors realized the most terrifying truth of all. The humans did not come for negotiations. They came for finality. On the alien flagship, the admiral sat slumped in his throne. His proud warship was broken, its engines dead, its weapons silent. His officers were gone, their stations destroyed by fire and explosions. He was alone, staring at the tactical display that now showed only wreckage where his fleet had once stood. He thought back to the start of the battle, the laughter, the confidence, the belief that humanity was weak. Now all of that felt like a distant lie. His claws shook as he whispered into the silence, "They are not soldiers. They are executioners. And still the humans said nothing. The fleet passed by the broken flagship, its shadow falling across the admiral's viewports. For a brief moment, he locked eyes with the massive human dreadnought that loomed above him. Its cannons glowed faintly. Its black armor gleamed cold under the light of the dying star. He knew then that his name, his rank, his empire, none of it mattered anymore. Humanity had erased it. One by one, human ships activated their engines and left the battlefield. They did not look back. They left behind silence, fire, and a warning that echoed louder than any words. Across the galaxy, news of the slaughter spread quickly. Distant empires that had once dismissed humanity now watched in fear. Traders whispered in hidden stations. Politicians met in secret chambers. Soldiers trembled in their barracks. Every word carried the same message: the humans are coming. Do not stand in their way. In taverns across star systems, survivors told the same story. They spoke of ships that moved like predators, of weapons that shattered entire fleets, of silence more terrifying than screams. Some said the humans did not fight like men. They fought like storms, like living machines that could not be stopped. Others swore they saw human soldiers boarding ships, moving through fire and smoke without hesitation. They described them as shadows with burning eyes, fearless, merciless. They do not fear death, one alien survivor whispered, his voice shaking, because death fears them. Soon, the galaxy understood. The war was not about territory anymore. It was not about borders, politics, or trade. It was about survival. And those who dared to challenge humanity would not survive. In the weeks that followed, alien fleets retreated from human borders. Armies that had once marched confidently now trembled at the thought of facing them again. Even mighty empires, older and stronger than most, whispered among themselves, "If this is their fleet now, what will they unleash tomorrow?" On Earth there were no parades, no songs of victory. Humanity did not shout their triumph. They did not need to. Their silence spoke louder than words. They had shown the galaxy the cost of underestimating them. The silence after the battle became a shadow that stretched across the stars, and that silence carried a single truth. Humanity had arrived. They would not be ignored. They would not be underestimated, and they would never, ever show mercy.